Hello, I am Gladianne from Heart Take the Wheel, and I'm currently in a hotel room in Las Vegas attending a photography conference and expo called WPPI. And since it's Tuesday currently, I typically try to release a YouTube video on Tuesday. However, I just assumed I wouldn't this week because I'm out of town. But I'm taking a break at the hotel room, and I thought, might as well do it anyway, because why not? Let's just go with the flow here. I hope the sound levels are okay on this video because I am trying to be a little more quiet considering how thin I have discovered these walls are. I was wondering what I could make a video of, and I thought just going with what's actually happening. I'm at a conference or a convention or expo, a combination of all of it, workshops. I thought I would just talk about that, about kind of tips that I've learned, because this isn't my first time at this conference or convention. I really don't know what the difference is. If you know what the difference is, let me know. So these are just my tips, because this is like my third or fourth time at this specific one, let alone I've been to others. So we're just gonna talk about some personal tips that I have learned and what helps my experience become a better one. Alrighty then. Alright, number one, I don't even know if these have any particular numerical value, but that's just how I thought of them. Number one would be, of course, having some good freaking walking shoes. That might seem like an obvious thing, but scratch out the word good and replace it with the best damn walking shoes, because you might think that your shoes that you walk with, from here to there, or, just for little events and stuff are good enough. And then you come to something like this and you end up walking a mile to and from your hotel and convention, and then not to mention all the walking at the expo, and it's crazy. So I'm talking like the best walking shoes, the kind of shoes you can walk on for weeks on end, not taking any breaks type of shoes. Yeah, those shoes. Walking shoes are super important. Wear layers, or plan to kind of work with what you've got, because in the morning, of course, sometimes there's 8 a.m. classes or whatever, you will head out the door and it might be slightly chilly, so you're wearing a sweater or a jacket or something, and then by the time you hike your ass a mile over to the convention or whatever, or you're walking through the expo floor, you start to sweat and smell. So having the opportunity to remove your top layer would be good, or either bracing. It's kind of like back in school, if you guys remember, maybe we would make that decision, do we bring the hoodie and then have to carry it and wear it around our waist in the afternoon, or do we brace the cold in the morning and then be awesome in the afternoon? So it's the same struggle. Number three, okay, everyone uses their phones these days to take notes, and that's totally fine. You have apps on there like Google Keep or Evernote or whatever you're using, your regular native notes app. Or the really popular thing is to take a photo of the slides that the presenter is showing. That's totally normal, and it's fine if that's what you want to do. However, I urge you to bring a notebook anyway, and unless the slide is full of numbers and they just tell you to take a photo because they're not going to spend a lot of time on the content on that slide, then I would suggest writing it down, because not only is that going to help you remember the content better, it's also going to help preserve your battery life of your phone. And if this is a really big conference, I mean, it does depend on the scale of the event that you're attending, but if this is a really big conference for you, with a lot of stuff going on, and you want to share about all of it and connect with your friends and go on stories and Snapchat, whatever you're doing, then you want to preserve your freaking battery life. It's a bonus if you bring a charger, but still. I try to preserve my battery life as often as I can, so I definitely bring a little dinky, go to the dollar store and get a dinky notebook, so you can and I prefer the ones with the wire, so that when I'm taking notes on one side of the page and I flip it over, it's not going to hinder my, what I'm doing there. I don't know, it's personal preference, but I prefer little notebooks that has a little wire bound and a tiny little pen. It fits in my purse, so I'm not carrying extra junk, and I can take notes so long as the slide isn't jam-packed full of words and graphs and things or whatever. And then in those instances, I'll take a photo. Now, give your notes some context. So sometimes we'll take a note because in the moment it makes so much sense. But then later on, when you're going through your notes, you have no idea why that was so powerful to you. So it might help to maybe give context to maybe the example, the analogy, or the slide that they were showing. Like last night I went to one and there was something I wrote down that I knew for sure I would not understand later. And so I just wrote in quotes like cat with money pick. And now I know exactly. It's able to give me that extra context point for my brain to remember what was going on and what was said and what that was all about. Same goes for, I think today this guy was talking about Usain Bolt as a reference and an analogy that I wrote down, and the analogy wouldn't make sense unless I could remember how he connected the dots there, and that helps my brain connect the dots so that my memory can figure things out, so that later on when I'm going through my notes, to try and absorb and put some of this stuff into practice, because it's only good if you actually can take action with some of the stuff, then I have context and I can actually remember what the point was on my notes. So giving your notes context is very important. Now, number 5 is all about making sure you have some sort of system or organizational thing in place for all these notes and all these, wonderful inspirations and pictures and things that you took while you're at this event. Because an educational event can be quite overwhelming, and we're taking tons of notes and pictures and recording things and whatever. But then when we get home, we take a break because, we need a break. It's been a few days or whatever it is for you, and you relax, you get your sleep back into schedule, you try to get back into the motion of things, and then you need to sit down and consolidate your notes into something that's actionable and something you can look back up versus just losing the papers or losing the photos in your phone somewhere. So using Evernote or Trello or Asana or whatever it is that you like to do, mark the class title and who taught it, because often we won't have like the best notes, but we can remember who taught it, and then we can look that person up and maybe follow them a little more closely online to learn more from them. And then it's also good to take all your pictures that you took, take all your notes, whatever sources of information you gathered, and put them all under one place. Even if you want to use something as simple as Google Docs, make a folder, or to Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever, you can make a folder and you can just put all these files in there. Take pictures of your notes if you need to, and just like put all of this stuff in one place and title it with the class that it was by the teacher that it was. And then, so you don't just like leave it to the abyss of data storage, you can go back in there, and maybe if you have Trello or something, whatever you like to use for your project management, for whenever you have time to work on like a little ongoing project, you can feed in like working or practicing on whatever it is that you learned from one of the classes or something. So that's the real key to all of these conventions, is putting them into practice, or else what the hell's the point, right? Okay, number 6 is I do not recommend picking up every little thing on the expo floor. I know it's tempting, and especially if it's your first time, and especially at something like this where it's like it's in your little geek zone of like photography for me, for example, and you're just like, oh my god, all the things, I want to pick up all the things and take everything home, and then you're stuck with like 3 or 4 giant go bags full of papers and brochures and business cards and little gimmicky pens and squishy things and cozies and or koozies, whatever they're called. Anyways, you get the idea. Like, you're just like chock full of shit, okay? And to be honest, unless there's a point to why you took it home, it's gonna end up in the trash or clutter in your closet. I'm not kidding. It's not worth the weight in your suitcase or the weight on your shoulder throughout the expo for you to pick up every little thing that you find. So I do recommend going with this with a minimalism mentality, but an open mind. So this is where context comes into play again. So it's not just whenever you're in workshops and trainings and stuff do you need to give your notes context. You need to give your brochures and things, expo stuff, context as well. So there's several reasons why you would pick up a brochure or a business card or whatever. And it's because maybe one, you made a relationship with the person at the booth and you wanted to further that relationship and you needed their information. Okay, so maybe you should write that on the card. like their name or circle their name and write like a little note, or just kind of give your brain some context so when you go through this stuff later, it's not just another business card. It's like, oh, this is that person that I talked about ducks with. I don't know. You get the idea. Like, give yourself a keyword to jog your memory about maybe why you picked up that card. Was it for the relationship that you were building? Was it because literally the product was really awesome? You need to tell yourself, why is that product? What struck you? What was like, I need this, or I need to keep, looking at this later. Write down that. Maybe it was inspirational for maybe content for you to maybe make a video or YouTube or Instagram later. Do that. I also, key little bonus here, on Instagram, because often I like to connect, as you guys probably know, with people on Instagram more than anything, because I know for a fact if you're on Instagram, you and I are going to have a relationship. It's just the way it is. That's the strongest place that I build relationships other than in person. So I will, if I'm spending time with someone, talking with them, having a conversation more than just like, oh, what do you do? Oh, that's cool. Like further than that, then I'd be like, hey, what's your Insta? And then I will make sure I tell them my Insta. I will make myself quite seen on their accounts. And then have you guys used the save the collection feature on Instagram? I would use that. But what I do is I hold press it so that I can make a collection, and I will call it, for example, WPPI 2018. And whenever I save something, a photo from their feed in there, I know for a fact that I made that extra effort because that person and I had a relationship, we had a conversation, and I want to continue this connection online after I leave this event and after they leave this event. So that to me is like taking that little business card way further and putting and saving their Insta, like a thing from their Insta, into a collection on Instagram. It's brilliant. You really ought to try it. Basically what I'm saying here is give yourself some context as to why you're picking up what you're picking up on the expo floor. Don't pick up literally everything. Like, I'm obsessed with Sony, and one year I picked up every little brochure and magazine and thing that they had on the floor. That's like this stack all Sony. It's like, I don't need all this stuff. And so when I was there this time, I know, like, I'm trying to have a minimalism, purposeful mentality about what I pick up. So I only picked up the brochure on the lenses for the E mount, which I'm interested in, not on the other lenses for the A mount or whatever, not on the other cameras I'm not going to buy, not on anything else, just on what I know is relevant to me. Yeah, that's pretty much the idea there. It's like I am still picking things up, but I'm trying to be more purposeful. Like, does this have a purpose for me later? Like, am I going to remember why I picked this up? Do I need to make a note? Do I need to take a picture of something that like inspired me to pick up something from this booth? Give yourself context so that when you go home, you're not looking at just a bunch of paper and then it's overwhelming and you never look at it. You never follow through on codes that don't matter to you. Just please try to be a little more purposeful. You're going to have a better experience. And then lastly is number 7, don't be like above returning back to your hotel room from time to time like I did today. I know that there's things going on down on the expo floor. I saw the whole floor yesterday. I do plan on going through again today with a more leisurely attitude, but my feet were hurting a little bit because I was trying to break in these other shoes. I did bring my granny shoes though, my Life Strides. I brought them as backups when I just need to go to a shoe that I know is going to make my feet happy. So I'll probably switch to those if a Band-Aid doesn't feel like it's going to do the trick. And so I came back to, drink up some water and to rest my legs and my feet because I did a lot of walking yesterday. And so don't be above that. Like, there's, it's like go back and rest if you need to, take a nap if you need to. Feel free to be like, hey guys, like if you're in a group, be like, I'm gonna go like grab a bite or something or go back to my room for a minute. I'll catch up with you guys later. Don't like be above that. So I know we get a lot of FOMO at events like this, like we're gonna miss some amazing thing or some amazing giveaway or something this or that, and feel free to return to your room if you need to. Feel free to take a break and sit down somewhere and just take a mental break, or maybe you need just time away from crowds. Like, know who you are and don't forget about that, and don't forget what you need to fulfill yourself so that you have the best experience that you can have, is my point. Okay, I hope this was a helpful video. I am going to drink up some water and then head back out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!